Okay, hi guys. Good day to everyone. This will be our last video discussion for BAM 158 Operations Management. So before I continue on with this lecture, first I'd like to, let me say a few words. No? Um, Gusto kong magpasalamat sa inyo, my dear students. Alam kong hindi mahirap maging, alam kong mahirap, sorry. Alam kong mahirap maging estudyante ngayon. Ako rin, ay isang estudyante ngayon at alam ko kung gaano kahirap ang maraming deadlines, mag-aaral, and then parang pakiramdam mo walang pumapasok na na knowledge sa iyo, no? Pero still, you guys did your best. You guys did your naglabas kayo ng effort to to study for my subject. And I think for me that is really nice, no? Na kahit ngayong pandemic na medyo mahirap talaga mag-adapt, you still exerted effort to adapt and you still exerted effort to listen to me, no? I mean, it's hard sharing something here in the screen without seeing everyone, without seeing you guys, seeing how you react, how you interact, no, with the videos that I am making. So really, I'd like to extend my thanks na na-appreciate ko lahat ng pakikinig ninyo para sa subject na to at pag-aaral ninyo for this semester. So, di ko na papahabain pa, no, ang aking message. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. And so, we'll begin with our last video discussion. So, I'll keep finals period very short for everyone. As I have scanned throughout the whole modules, nakita ko na some of the um, later modules that will be discussed here is often discussed during master's degree na. So medyo ayoko na kayong i-stress pa doon sa mga ganong klaseng topics. Dito na lang tayo sa mga topics na tingin ko para sa akin mas makakabuti din para sa inyo in the future. That you have this kind of idea how these things work. So since college is mainly an introduction to the industry, no, I'd like you guys to understand how this simple term works, no? Supply chain management. So what does supply chain management mean? So first, let's try to define what is supply chain in itself. So yan, makikita nyo sa part na to ng inyong modules. The supply chain, it is the sequence of organizations, their facilities and functions and activities that are involved in producing and delivering a product or service. So from this sentence, makikita nyo that supply chain is the whole process itself from start to finish, from from producing raw materials to transferring it to a facility wherein it will be processed into something that can be distributed, and then distribute siya sa mga retailers or yun nga distributors sa mga iba't ibang area, and then it will go directly to the customers. So yun yung supply chain management. Pag-aaralan mo yung buong proseso ng pagdaloy ng isang produkto from raw material into the hands of the customers or tayo. Did you ever wonder, no, pag kayo pupunta sa sa let's say for example, pupunta kayo sa isang supermarket, and then sa supermarket nakita nyo na merong meat section doon. Di ba kayo nagtataka kung saan galing yung meat section na yon? Saan, I mean, paano nagkaroon ng meat section sa supermarket? Hindi ba madalas nakikita natin, at least ito sa Pilipinas, no? Nakikita natin na ang fresh products like yun nga mga meats natin and vegetables often can be found in wet markets sa mga palengke. Pero merong mga ilang-ilan na na supermarkets nagbebenta ng meat products. So did you ever wonder how it got there? Of course, yes, there are some supermarkets wherein they show the brands of the meat products, like say for example Monterey, Bounty Fresh, and Robina. Yeah, Robina ba? O Robina, yes. And some other big brands, no. Pero how does it get there, no? And saan nga ba talaga nagsisimula yung yung production ng mga meat products na nandun, yung chicken, yung fish, yung beef, yung pork, saan galing yun, no? So yun, that is the supply chain. Meron siyang buong napakalaking proseso. Tulad ng mga simpleng sa isda ng mga nasa sardinas, yung mga mackerel, o di kaya yung mga sardinas mismo, tuna, saan galing yung mga karne na yon? Bigla-bigla na lang ba sila sumusulpot? Meron ba silang farm somewhere? Saan galing yung mga meats na ginagamit for those kinds of products? No? Mga delata natin. Yung mga frozen food, saan galing? So that is supply chain and often can be referred to as value chain as well. Bakit value chain? Kasi in each process that it undergoes, it adds value. Let's say, for example, from farm to manufacturing, nag-add siya ng value kasi na-manufacture niya yung mga products from the farm, and then it will go to the packaging, it adds value again, it makes it distributed, um, it makes it possible for distribution. And then pag pupunta siya sa distribution, it will add value again kasi when it is in the distribution already, there's a highly chance that it will go directly to the customer already. So, it adds value in every process. Moreover, supply chain has two components. We have supply component, which starts at the beginning of the supply chain and ends with the internal operations of the organization. So, starts at the beginning hanggang sa end ng internal operation of the organization. Yun yung supply component hanggang sa internal operation. Ano yung internal operation? Yan yung mga ginagawa before we distribute, before we make it possible for distribution. Lahat ng kailangan i-operate doon sa raw material na yon for it to become possible for distribution. Kasi once that it ends there in the very last step, it will automatically be transitioned to demand component, which starts at the point where the organization's output is delivered to its immediate customer and ends with the final customer. So those are the two components of supply chain management. Again, from start until to the last step of processing, that will be the supply component. And then after making it possible for distribution, it will go directly to the demand component, which starts the point where organization's output is delivered to its immediate customer. So yun. Supply chain connects suppliers. It connects everyone from the whole operation. No? May mga iba't ibang industries yan na kinoconnect all together so that you can say that supply chain is the heart of an organization and people that run it are the lifeblood. Kasi without, of course, supply chain management or without the existence of supply chain, it will never be possible. Yung mga pagkain na nakikita ninyo sa inyong mga restaurants, sa, halimbawa, let's say for example, sa mga wings, sa mga samgyup, sa mga milk tea products na ganyan, it will never be possible without the existence of supply chain. There will always be other companies or other businesses that will be a part of the supply chain, whether in a form of sa farming, whether in a form of processing, or whether in a form of distribution. Lahat yan interconnected. So the people that run it are the lifeblood of the business. So of course, with that being said, no, sabi ko nga tulad ng sabi ko sa inyo, maraming napakalaking businesses yan. And looking at supply chain, you are looking at the overall process. Maraming farms tayo sa Philippines ngayon. And yun yung, sige, I'll show you a picture like, ayan, this is one of the examples of supply chain, no? From supplier, wait, let me, okay, and then, mouse, alright, yan. Let me see here, yan, may supplies, no? Ito yung raw materials, it will be processed or it will be stored somewhere. And then from the storage, it will go to the manufacturing. From the manufacturing, those manufactured products will be stored again. And then after storing those manufactured products, it will be distributed to the retailers, to the customer. And that is an example of supply chain. Another example is, dito mas maganda siguro. Ayan, food production change. Since we are all in hospitality and tourism industry. Mainly, one of the things that we will be talking about really is food production. So ayan, no, from the farm pa pala nagsisimula. Ibig sabihin, yung ating pinag-aaralan ng restaurant management, it doesn't really involve restaurants only. It involves a lot of things as well. You have to be familiar with the production. Kumbaga, from the farm pa lang itself of your ingredients, saan ba nagagaling ang mga ingredients mo, no? Di mo alam, kumukuha ka ng manok sa mga botcha na pala. Di mo alam, kumukuha ka ng karne sa mga lumang farm na pala or luma na pala yung binibigay sa'yo. Di mo alam na kung may kinakain ka somewhere, hindi mo alam na yun pala yung karne na ginagamit pala nila doon or yung supplier ng karne nila is lately nagkaroon ng outbreak sa kanyang farm. So, managing a restaurant is more than knowing the do's and don'ts in a restaurant. You have to know every component that is related to your business operations, and a part of that is the farm or the production. And after producing the raw materials, which is in this case meat products, like say for example beef, pork, chicken, it will go then into processing. Parating sa processing, dyan na yung i-butcher yung different parts ng meat, and then magkakaroon ng packaging of some sorts then dito sa processing na to, and then it will be delivered to the distribution wherein it will be packaged na talaga na mas maayos, no? Kumaga yung nandun na yung branding, nandun na yung brand name, nutritional facts, everything else, price, weight of the product, yon, lahat yun nasa distribution. And most likely, in most cases, production, processing, and distribution is part of one company. So usually, yung mga big meat companies natin, they have their own farm, they have their own processing facilities, and they have their own distribution facilities. Pero, at least, you know how it works. First, in production, it will go to processing, wherein it will be butchered, it will be cleaned, malilinis lahat ng parte igagamitin, ihihiwa-hiwalay yung mga parte, and then it will be transferred to the distribution facility where it will be packaged na maayos with brands, with everything that you need to know. Weight ng customer, ayan. Weight ng customer, sorry. Weight ng product, and yung price and everything else, nutritional values. And then it will go from distributor to the retail stores and or restaurants. Retail stores, like say for example, yan yung mga supermarket. So yung mga food, yung mga fresh products, and actually hindi lang fresh products, no. Lahat actually ng gamit na nasa supermarkets have their own kinds of supply chain. So this is a food production supply chain. And yan, it will go to supermarkets, it will go to restaurants. Pag sa restaurant, magkakaroon ng restaurant operation and then restaurant consumer, ang end product. And then, pag home operation naman, pag retail or sa supermarket ka bumili ng meats mo, ayan, home preparation, and then home yung consumers. So that's an example of supply chain. Again, this one is another one, mas simpleng intindihin. From farm to manufacturing, ayan, magkakadikit-dikit na yan, no? From farm to manufacturing to packaging, and then from packaging to distribution, transportation, market, your home. So yun yung isang example ng supply chain. Pero if I'll be honest with you, supply chain, hindi lang siya sa pangkalahatan. Kasi makikita mo dito, no? This is a huge scale of business. It has different components. May farm, may manufacturing, may packaging, may distribution. Ang daming klase ng business dyan. Is there a supply chain for focused para lang sa mga business mismo? Halimbawa, meron bang supply chain na dito lang sa farm, dito lang sa manufacturing, dito lang sa packaging, dito lang sa distribution, transportation, and market? Meron ba na-apply din ba dito yung supply chain? Kasi so far, sir, lahat ng explain mo sa amin is pangkalahatan for the bigger picture o yung macro perspective. Let's now see the micro perspective of supply chain. And in doing so, we have to study supply chain management or SCM. And the goal of supply chain management is to match supply to demand. Ito talaga yung pinaka-definition niya, no? Matching supply to demand. So, as supply chain manager, your main responsibility is to produce enough, at yeah, at least, no, yes, to match supply and demand for it to be equal as much as possible. Yun yung pinaka responsibility mo as supply chain management. And the things that you have to study, well, there are a lot of things that you have to study for you to ano no for you to better understand or better execute your responsibilities as supply chain manager. Kasi marami kang pag-aaralan logistics. Or logistics, na tinatawag namin, is the part of supply chain. It's a part of supply chain involved with the forward and reverse flow of goods, service, cash, and information. So mainly, logistic is one of the key components. It's a part of the supply chain na involved sa isa sa mga importante na operation or process dun sa operation mo. So ayan, with the idea of supply chain management on certain logistic facilities tulad na ito, I believe this is a manufacturing facility, no, wherein ayan yung parang pinaka diskarte nila when it comes to supply chain management. There is a truck here wherein this is ibig sabihin from outside to inside. Receiving is on this side, it will go directly to storage, and then after storage, may lagusan dito for the work centers. And work centers involve people, facilities, machines. They have human workforce here. And then after manufacturing here in this first step, it will be stored somewhere. Tulad na nakalagay doon sa isang figure na pinakita ko sa inyo. And then work center again, storage before shipping out. And then there's trucks here parked malapit sa shipping na from outside nakapaloob papalabas. So that is an example of supply chain management. So napansin nyo, no, in the micro perspective of things, if you are looking at certain facilities lang, like this one, this is a manufacturing facility, meron pa rin ina-apply tayong supply chain management. Nakikita nyo, pinag-aaralan ng mga architect or pinag-aaralan ng mga engineers, pinag-aaralan ng sino man ang nagde-design ng facility na to, na kailangan may magandang flow of goods. Kailangan may magandang movement from hindi pwede mag-park kung saan-saan yung truck. Kailangan yung truck, pag ikaw ay galing labas pumasok, ibig sabihin in ka. Meron kang laman na may mga laman ka na inventory, may laman ka na goods. Magpa-park ka malapit sa receiving end, and then yung receiving meron siyang diretsyo, ang next step is storage na kagad. 'Di ba? Napaka-efficient. Hindi na kailangan yung mag-unload ka receiving tas maglalakad ka pa sa kabilang dulo ng facility para lang sa storage. Hindi siya ganoon. It works like this. From receiving, storage kagad here in this facility. And then after that, merong isang maliit na lagusan dito kung makikita nyo. No? Nakalagay doon, papalabas yon pupunta sa work centers. Kung baga nandun yung mga machines, nandun yung proseso na sinasabi natin na nag-a-add ng value tulad ng sinasabi rin natin, di ba? So yun, this is an example of supply chain management in the micro perspective of things, looking at certain facilities. Kanina, we are looking at the whole operation, from farm, manufacturing, packaging. Dito naman ngayon, micro perspective with the use of supply chain management. Doon tayo nakatingin ngayon sa mga individual facilities or yung logistics na tinatawag natin. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, no? Flow management, an important aspect of SCM. There are 3 types of flow that needs to be managed. So when you talk about supply chain management, mainly it's all about flow of product and service flow, information flow, and financial flow. Product and service flow involves movement of goods and services from suppliers to customers, as well as handling customer service needs and product returns. So tulad ito, pinakita ko sa inyo, this is an example of production product and service flow. Then we have information flow, involves sharing forecast and sales data, transmitting orders, tracking shipments, and updating order status. So, sorry. So in this case, hindi lang pala product and service ang pinag-uusapan natin. Hindi lang pala yon ang possible na magkaroon ng supply chain management. We also talk about information flow. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng pumapasok, itong truck na to, ultimo, itong truck na to, kung anong oras siya pumasok, lahat yan dapat naka-record. Lahat yan dapat meron kang data. Yung receiving, kung gaano karami ang na-receive mo, gaano karami ang pumasok sa iyo sa storage, gaano karami ang proseso mo sa mga work centers mo, dapat lahat ng yan detalyado naka-record. Why? Kasi those are important those are important information that can be used in the future for forecast, for sales data, for transmitting orders, tracking shipments, and updating order status. Lahat ng yan, lahat ng data na yan kailangan. Kaya ibig sabihin, hindi lang yung flow ng goods and service ang kailangan mong pag-aralan. Kailangan pinag-aaralan mo rin kung paano ka mag-track ng record mo, paano ka magre-record ng data mo, and paano mo gagamitin yung data na yon in the future. So that is information flow. Next here is the financial flow. This one involves credit terms, payments, and consignment, and title ownership arrangements. So aside from product and service tulad nito, and aside from information flow wherein we track the data or record data from each and every component of the logistic, we also look for financial flow. Gaano karami ang pera na pumapasok sa atin? Gaano karami ang perang lumalabas sa atin? Ano yung mga credit payment na kailangan nating isettle? Ano yung mga bagay na kailangan nating tugunan ng pansin dahil ito ay kailangan focus ng pera or some sorts, mga ganun. Everything that when it comes to financial, from pagpasok to paglabas. Kaya 'di ba meron tayo tinatawag na cash flow projection. Doon sa isa kong entrep subject, nasabi ko to, nabanggit ko to, pero di ko naturo kasi I focus them on income statement and break-even analysis. So, yun. Ultimo yung pagpasok ng pera papalabas, pinag-aaralan din yan. Kung paano pumapasok yung pera, will it come directly in cash, will it come directly in credit, meron bang mga utang na kailangan bayaran, or meron bang mga magbabayad ng utang sa atin. Usually yon yung mga pinag-uusapan sa financial flow. So, with this, there are current trends in supply chain. Seeing that supply chain management is a really big component in each big companies, kailangan talaga or high likely meron trends yan. Ano yung trends sa supply chain management or mag-a-affect ng design ng supply chain natin? Of course, the first and foremost is measuring the ROI or the return of investments. We want our operations to run efficiently and effectively as much as possible. We want to maximize revenue as early as possible so that we have only a short duration of return of investments. So yun yung unang kailangan mong i-take into consideration when designing your supply chain. Ano yung pinaka-efficient na workflow at pinaka-effective na flow ng product and service, information, and financial. Next, greening the supply chain. To tell you honestly, talaga, ang alam ko ngayon sa industry, they are coming up with different ways on how to save our world by removing plastic first and foremost. Magkakaroon tayo. Well, I'm not saying that this will be 100% accurate, but there will come a time wherein I am most likely looking forward. Yes, masasabi ko na na pwede mangyari talaga to. na magkakaroon tayo ng mundo someday wherein plastic is not existing anymore. Um, there are multiple companies right now that are looking for ways on how to remove plastic so that we can only use decomposable products instead, so that we can reduce pollution and reduce and you know start caring for our planet more. So magkakaroon tayo ng oras na ganun. It's good for companies that are starting up right now um, to incorporate some greening ideas for their business, kasi maganda yan, and it also adds advertising or marketing of some sorts na if you will say that you are pro environment, there are it will cost more right now, pero more people will support you, especially those people belonging in the middle class section, diba? Next, reevaluating outsourcing. It's not always the case when you outsource that you will have lower labor cost, yan nga tulad na sabi dyan, no? And freeing up capital to devote to other needs. Kasi minsan mas imbis na mas nakakamura tayo sa outsourcing, mas nakakamahal pa tayo. And minsan talaga kailangan, halimbawa, 'di ba, sa manufacturing. Let's say for example here, ayan, in this kind of setup sa supply chain. Let's just say for example that in this certain operation or work center, kailangan mo mag-outsource ng tao at kailangan mo mag-outsource ng equipment in order to do this part of the logistic, or in order for you to execute this operation. And sometimes outsourcing is always not the case. If you will continue to use other people or outsourcing in one of your key components, lalo-lalo na kung importante yon para sa business mo, syempre, ang gusto mo, as much as possible, you are the one who does that. Kasi that is an important part of the component. And oftentimes, mas mahal pa. Baka mamaya, kaya mo naman pala na mag-isa. Let's say, for example, ikaw ay magbebenta ng burgers and gusto mo maganda ang quality ng burger buns. Pero, hindi ka satisfied sa burger buns na nakikita mo sa bakery. Hindi ka satisfied sa burger buns na nakikita mo sa supermarket. Pero dahil hindi mo kayang gumawa ng burger buns, nagtuloy-tuloy ka doon sa Gardenia or other big nag-plug na tuloy ako. Other big products that sells burger buns. Nagtiyaga ka doon kasi gusto mo masarap yung burger buns mo, pero nagtiyaga ka kasi wala hindi mo alam kung papaano eh. Pero kung nag-aral ka sa sarili mo kung papaano gumawa ng tinapay at tingin mo na kaya mo namang isingit yung paggawa ng tinapay sa pag-produce ng burgers mo on a daily basis, baka panahon na para gumawa ka na ng sarili mong burger buns, 'di ba? Hindi mo na kailangan mag-outsource ng buns from the supermarket na mahal. Mas makakamura ka ngayon sa raw materials mo kasi flour lang 'yan, itlog, yeast, tubig, konting asukal, okay na. So 'yun. It maybe in sometimes if kaya mo naman talaga na i-produce yon, produce it for yourself. Pero kung hindi talaga kaya, there's no shame in outsourcing. Just look for good partners and look for good practices as well. Next, integrating IT. IT is one of the most popular areas of the industry right now. Kasi lahat ng companies kailangan ng IT. Hotels, restaurants, hospitals, offices, police station, lahat, actually yes, lahat talaga ng industry kailangan ng IT ngayon. Kaya, mas importante or mas maganda, kung meron kang in-incorporate na technology dito sa mga flow na ginagamit mo. For example, in your information flow to track down all of your records, you have this kind of system wherein dun mo efficiently natatrack down yung in and out ng mga shipments mo. Doon mo natatrack yung workload na pinaprocess ng company mo, and so on and so forth. You can also incorporate IT in financial flow, online banking or online transactions, um, transactions done with scanning your eye or something like that. Production and service flow, integrating IT here, something na mag-work para sa manufacturing, like say for example, machines, tulad ng dito sa mga work centers. So yun, integrating IT is really relevant right now, not just in the restaurant and hospitality world, but also in other industries. Next, adopting lean principles. What is a lean principle? Ayan. Uh, Lean principle is something like, well, let's ano kasi, para ma-discuss ko sa inyo yung lean principle, let's talk about push and pull systems. So yung push and pull systems is one of the things that you have to know in order for you to know how to operate your business. Are you gonna use a push system or a pull system? When we talk about push system, you create and you create and you create your product in hopes that someone will buy it. Let's say for example, kung kayo ay familiar sa street food burgers or yung mga street food na footlong dati, pre-pandemic, no, meron yun yung mga 10 piso. Hindi ko alam kung nabutan yung 10 piso yun, no? Pero ako nabutan ko 10 pisong burger, tsaka 20 pesos na footlong. And then, oftentimes, pag ako bumibili doon, natataka ako, bakit yung tindera dito, ang dami nilulutong burger patties. And then yung burger patties na yun, isa-stack niya doon sa sulok, tapos pag may order ng burger, saka siya kukuha doon, iinitin lang niya, tapos labas na. Nakakatuwang alalahanin yung mga ganong klaseng simple lang. Pero kung iisipin mo, meron na rin palang effective doon na business pattern or supply chain. Kasi nasa isip ni ating tindera, marami naman ang bibili ng burger sa akin at mabilis lang akong magluluto ulit. So why not? Magluluto na lang ako ng marami, tapos pag may bibili, initin ko na lang, tapos bigay ko. That is a push pack. That is a push system. You create and you create and you create your products in hopes that someone will buy it in the future. Or parang forecasting. When we do pull system or yung lean principles, you will create your food upon ordering. Ito yung parang sinasabi natin made to order. So, for example naman dito, imbes na si ating tindera ay magluluto ng napakaraming burgers, itatabi, tapos lulutuin na lang pag o-order ka, ang gagawin naman ni ating tindera dito, mag-order ka, saka lang niya lulutuin yung burger patty. So, yun yung difference niya. One is, yung push system is not time-consuming. Actually, that is an efficient use of time. Pero kasi hindi ka sigurado kung may bibili. You're only basing your production of goods from forecasts itself. Hindi yung meron kang definite figure na tinitingnan. You are basing everything from forecast. Paano kung konti lang ang bumili bigla sa burger mo, edi ang dami mong niluto. Ang dami ngayon ng wastage sa'yo. When we do pull system, these are made to order, parang made to order lang siya. Ang nangyayari niyan, ayan, in other words, eliminate non-value added processes, improving product flow by using pull system. We eliminate we eliminate the some processes in the logistics na hindi naman talaga kailangan. And then we improve the performance by focusing on one thing when it is demanded from us. So yun yung parang pull system. Last, we have here managing risk. This develops strategies to manage risk. For example, risk avoidance, risk reduction, risk transfer. So, talking about supply chain, when you study it, of course, your supply chain design should manage risk. Sorry. Kailangan yung risk na i-take mo within your company is controllable or within your control. And you have what it takes for it if ever it will back down or if ever it will backfire on you, alam mo or meron kang ways on how to recover or recuperate. So, yon. That is mainly supply chain, no? Ang pinaka gusto kong pag-usapan talaga dito is the macro perspective or yan, yung perspective as a whole or as a whole process and the micro perspective of supply chain which is in each logistic facilities, meron din pala supply chain na ina-apply. And ang supply chain na ina-apply is yung SCM or supply chain management wherein the goal is to match supply to demand and ang pinaka pinag-uusapan is the flow management, flow of product and service, flow of information and flow of financial flow. Now, in determining major issues affecting supply chain management, we talk about before dito no pinag-usapan natin dito is yung mga trends. Now we talk about the sorry. Ayan. Now we talk about issues affecting supply chain management. So here we go. Ayan. Well, actually, very, very short, ano lang, no? Before we go on with the issues affecting supply chain management, let's first talk about incorporating technology in our businesses. We have here e-commerce. E-commerce and e-business are defined as the use of the internet and the web to transact business. E-business refers to transactions and processes within an organization, such as companies' online inventory control system that support supply chain management. So in short, e-commerce is the use of the internet and web to transact business or doing business online. So yung ginagawa ngayon ng mga most people, yung selling products in their social media addresses, that is considered as e-commerce kasi you are using internet to transact business. Now, there are two kinds of e-commerce or two kinds of online transactions. We have your business-to-business transactions. This is from the term itself, from one business to another. And this one naman is business-to-consumer e-commerce, wherein from a business directly to a consumer. And there are different models in business to consumer or yung B2C e-commerce tinatawag natin. We have here advertising revenue model wherein kikita ka with the use of advertising. We have we have your subscription revenue model wherein kikita ka based on the number of subscriptions. Madalas nakikita sa mga vloggers, no, sa YouTube, sa Facebook, streamers, etc. We have here a transaction fee model. So you are gaining income from transaction fees. Mainly dito si Grab kasama, si Foodpanda, yan, based on transaction fees yung revenue nila. We have sales revenue model, ito yung directly na sales, ito yung mga food businesses pwede. And affiliate revenue model, ito yung mga commissions, working on commissions like say for example, real estate agents working online, mga ganun. Affiliate revenue model, working on commission. So yun. Yun yung yun yung pinaka two types of e-commerce. We have B2B and B2C. And B2C e-commerce, business to consumer, showed how effective they are, no? Right? Especially right now in the pandemic. And B2B e-commerce is often done, of course, face to face, no? Pero with the use of the internet now, it became more efficient to use. So, ito yung mga issues na ngayon na ina-affect ang supply chain, of course, kasama dyan ang globalization. Any issues affecting global countries or the global side of things, of course, it will affect almost everything. Kumbaga, pag nagkaroon ng, tulad dito, nagkaroon ng pandemic, di ba? It's a global effect. At nagkaroon ng effect in every country, everyone was affected by the pandemic. Pag nagkaroon ng Pag nagkaroon ng pagtaas ng presyo sa bilihin, usually hindi lang yung ating ano no, hindi lang yung ating inflation rate ang tinitingnan. Tinitingnan din natin yung mga presyo pag tayo ay nag-e-export from other countries. Next, we have government regulation on e-commerce. Of course, since the rise of the internet is fairly new, it's somewhat young to our society right now. So wala pa talaga yung proper steps to properly regulate e-commerce. Kumbaga wala pa tayo yung constitution for e-commerce na tinatawag natin. Kasi ang buhay ng internet ngayon is fairly new. Nag nagkaroon lang din ng jump sa internet ngayong pandemic. Kumbaga lahat ng tao kasi kailangan mag-adapt. So yon. Not until there is a full pledged constitution regarding e-commerce, mahirap talaga siyang i-regulate ng government. We have green supply chain management. Of course, with the globalization comes as well greening our supply chain. Naturally, anything that will affect our environment, kailangan na, and it affects our supply chain. Why? Kasi if you will look at products, 'di ba? Mas mura yung mga product na nakaka-harm sa environment natin. Kaysa gagamit tayo ng product na safe sa environment pero mas mahal. Kaya yun yung struggle ngayon ng mga businesses natin. So, I am really positive that someday plastic will be gone and mura lang yung substitute product niya. So, yun. Next is infrastructure issues. Of course, there are some countries na, halimbawa, mabagal ang internet or mabagal ang flow ng yung kuryente is unstable. Yun yung mga infrastructure issues, no? Kasi of course, doon sa macro perspective ng supply chain management, especially for big companies, you are talking about supply chain in multiple countries. Merong countries na nagfa-farm specific and then ipapadala siya papunta sa ibang bansa for manufacturing and then papadala let's say iba't ibang bansa for distribution. So there are multiple countries involved. It means not everything will be the same. Kumbaga yung Wi-Fi and technology sa isang bansa is different from the Wi-Fi and technology of other countries. And that is one of issues affecting supply chain management. And lastly, we have here product proliferation. Of course, um, with the whole supply chain concept, 'di ba sabi natin sa kanya, it can be called as value chain kasi nag-add siya ng value in each process that it will undergo. And one of the things that happens, of course, is iba-iba ang presyo ng pagproseso ng product na yan. There will be countries there will be countries that are offering this kind of execution to your operation pero mas mahal. Merong countries na mag-o-offer ng ito ang kaya nilang ibigay sa'yo pero okay naman ang kanilang service. And meron naman magbibigay sa'yo ng certain amount din na presyo pero hindi masyadong maganda. There are different things that are happening and of course, it will complicate supply chain kasi um, di mo alam kung ano pipiliin mo iba-iba kasi. And of course, kung pupunta ka sa isang proseso, kailangan affected din doon yung forecasting mo and affected din doon yung pag-produce mo ng supply mo or pag-produce mo ng final product mo. So kailangan talaga alam mo kung sino yung pipiliin mong partner na logistic facility para smooth yung flow ng business ninyo. Tulad ng sinasabi natin, 'di ba? Supply chain is mainly about flow management. So 'yun. Yun lang ang kailangan nyo matutunan about supply chain and that will be our last topic for finals and this will be of course the only video that you have to watch for finals. So with that being said, I'd like to extend my gratitude to everyone for listening. And I hope na kahit paano meron kayo natutunan kahit paano sa sa pagdadaldal ko dito. So that's it. Thank you and have a good day. Bye guys.